Okay, stand please.
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Who would like to say grace?
Chris, you want to
Please.
say grace? Or? Okay.
I can give it a shot.
Or not grace, but
Dear Lord, thank you for delivering us through the July 4th mayhem. Hopefully we're all healthy and refreshed for the week coming out. Please give your guidance and strength to the people who suffered in Illinois, horrible events up there, and keep us safe from such events in our lives here. Also, make sure that all of our aviators and people doing missions are protected under your grace. And I think that's good for our for today. In all names we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. So I have some agenda. I'll put it on screen. Hopefully
I
we
don't
can.
know. It's the first time doing this.
Hopefully we can see it. Interesting.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Can we verify my screen is online? I'll put it myself.
Let me see.
Yes.
Today is the day of online meeting via Teams.
Okay. Elon.
Space.
Yes.
Good. Okay. And hopefully we have audio too.
So I have Jason Enoch online.
Hey, somebody's in my spot.
Oh, for tonight. Well, at least we know the audio can be heard.
We need to mute the TV. That's what we need. That should do it. No more echo. The way we will structure our meetings, we will follow the tradition. First day of each month and the third week of each month and first week of each month, we will dedicate largely to emergency services. Second week we will be in a safety night, and the fourth week, I forgot what we set ourselves for from schedule point of view, but I did publish all the meetings in the Teams. So for the fourth week it will be airspace education, right? So two mandatory topics, one is in safety, one in airspace education, and hopefully we will have it on schedule. Should we have 5 Tuesdays in a month, we will continue with Nighthawk tradition at the hangar. And the meeting for Nighthawk will take place at 6 p.m. Everybody just go straight to the hangar for that.
Is there one this month?
No, this month only 4 Tuesdays. So today we'll try to cover a few topics, even though we have administrative, but we will go through them quickly. It's just a few updates to the members and a few points we would like to make related to maintaining our membership files and how to look our emails professionally with the use of email signature, how to take the photo the right way, etc. We'll cover professional development process, what kind of specialty trucks available for our members, for grabs, and then we will move on to emergency services. There are some opportunities open in that aspect. One is related to first aid and CPR classes. The next one is related to SARCs. And lastly, we'll mention about encampment opportunity to help our cadets with their development and progress towards the goals that are set in CAP. Before we move on to administrative stuff, I let Lon to cover the status of our aircraft. Yes, what we have, what we don't have, what are the timelines for our 206 Turbo.
Scott gave me a call today and was wondering if I knew what the status of 443 was, which is the tail number N743 Charlie Papa, and I did not. He said he was going to try to call Jim Hot Toys to find out if he knew when, where the aircraft was going to be taken from us and transferred to some other place. He was going to try to find that out and let me know. If not, call Pruzak or somebody to try to find out the status of that, because he wanted to fly the plane and he kind of needs to know where it's going to be at. I'll finish with the aircraft report. So that's on N9700 Charlie Papa. I just got out of there. They had changed the oil last week to our request, and it really didn't need to come to find out that the data that was entered into AMRAD was not correct. They had not logged the last annual inspection, 100-hour inspection in there at all. I verified that, in fact, in the logbooks, there was an entry and signed off for both the prop, airframe, and engine. And so anyway, it's good to go. We've got now, like 50 hours, 4 months time before we need to change the oil on Zelda. And if we shift to the first plane that I started talking about, 743, again, we don't know when that's going to be taken from us, but that's good to go. It's up and running and good to fly. If we can find a check pilot to go in there. And as far as our original turbo, 437 Charlie Papa, I have no word on if the manufacturer has sent, or the overhaul shop has sent the engine yet or not. As soon as somebody knows something, I'm sure they're going to let us know that it was shipped, or maybe they won't, but Kevin will keep us in tune with that. Speaking of something else that Scott brought out, that he said that California was 49 out of 50 in the United States for having the least number of instructors and check pilots. And so I've been trying to, make leadership aware of this for a couple years now for my own reasons, because I've been hard. COVID was hard. Everybody got hit hard, but it never got any more instructors or check pilots, which gives us a backlog of trying to, people like, I'll use myself as an example, trying to find an instructor to go fly and to get proficient enough to take your Form 5. So anybody that's flown enough in the Civil Air Patrol knows that there's a lot of logistics that have to fall into place in order for you to even make a flight. And then, the instructor has to usually come from long distances, and, so he knows that he'd like to get, some more instructors and check pilots like in our squadron here locally, so we don't have to, rely on people like him from Fullerton or Hammett and all that. So I think that pretty much covers the aircraft part of it.
Speaking of instructors, we have two very responsive instructors in the area who are willing to come to Riverside. Shane TK, he's, I believe, based somewhere in the area of Corona or something like that. So he's been pretty responsive. He's an airline pilot. He flies for Delta. So unless he's busy flying commercially, he comes over and flies with us, with pilots who needs to get checked and progress towards their objectives. The other pilot, instructor pilot with CIP, who was very helpful, from my experience, was Trent Ferris. He's been busy lately. He flew, I believe, to Omaha on CAP business, and he's back. So he should have some time. But as Lon mentioned, the real challenge is to get all the stars aligned. You need to get an instructor, make himself or herself available, plus an airplane of your choice. And don't forget that you don't have to rely strictly on our airplane, which is based here locally. You can book airplane in the vicinity of our squadron at Fullerton, I don't know, Palm Springs, any other place. As far as you are willing to travel, basically. If you find a check pilot in San Diego area at Gillespie Field, you're welcome to book their time. It can be with any group as long as it's a qualified pilot, which is suitable for specific aircraft. And last meeting we discussed how to identify a check pilot. Where this information is available in PRMA app. And if anyone has trouble locating the information, please feel free to reach out to myself, to Terry Pratt, to Chris, or Mike Swift. We will help you as much as we can. We'll switch gears a little bit to administrative stuff, and we'll get back to emergency services related training, which is available for our members this month. So one thing, probably if you check your CAP emails, we got news that there is a new logo, which looks very interesting. There was a big discussion on controversy of this logo. And to me, it looks that empty triangle in the middle is that our traditional triangle with the prop, which should be there, but it didn't make it. Anyway, please use this logo going forward on any materials internally and whatnot. For any external operations, we should be working with our public relationship officer, David. Is in charge for that aspect. But as it relates to every single member, please update your email signature. First of all, please use CAP email for internal and external communications related to CAP business, and set up your email signature, and I share on screen and will distribute a copy of this presentation for all the members to use as an example. We can also, what I missed to specify, what font should it be and what size, but we'll make a post in Teams portal on this matter. Any questions so far?
I added the link to Brand, the Brand's website for Civil Air Patrol, which pretty much makes all that easy for everybody.
That's perfect. Yeah, so let's post that in Teams channel under General, and if anyone has any questions, please address to Chris. He'll help you with setting it up if you're having trouble. Or myself, I can help you too. Related to member photos, I noticed that many of our members either don't have a photo in a member profile, or the photo does not actually conform with the requirements, with guidelines. The guidelines are very simple. Please put your favorite CAP uniform. Make sure your hair is well done. And set yourself against plain white or off-white background. If we look at around us, like this whiteboard would be a perfect backdrop. Should be nothing else in the picture other than plain background. Have someone take a snap. Make sure there is no shading behind you, so the photo is perfectly in a good lighting condition, well contrasted, etc. And go to e-services. The link is posted in this PowerPoint, and upload the photo. Once you upload it, I will get, Chris or Mike Swift will get notification. We will review it. If no issues found, we will approve it, and you most likely will get your membership card with the updated picture, and your online profile will also get updated. Your Microsoft 365 Office needs an extra step to get the proper picture, and we can cover it individually if necessary, or maybe at a later time. Next item, I'd like to give a quick update from administrative perspective. Last week, many of you have been bombarded with avalanche of emails getting removed from the duty and then placed back into the duty. That's part of a standard process of a new commander taking responsibility for the unit. I have to assign all the positions myself, and that will be a subject for subordinate unit inspection review, which we'll have in July. So that has been done. Every single officer already in a specific role has received exactly the same position, almost everyone. And I'll show you a quick overview. There is a report I'd like to share, which will actually give an idea what it looks like. If any issues noted on Teams access, please post your questions in chat as you have been doing, and we will do our best to address all the problems. So Jason mentioned the sound is lost. Do we know if
the sound is both your laptop and the microphone. Your laptop is used with Teams. The microphone is used with YouTube.
So if I use mic on my laptop, it will not interfere?
It will not interfere.
Okay. And the reason sound was lost most likely because my mic was muted to avoid any echo, so should be good now. So Jason, could you confirm if sound is back? Let's see. Okay, good, sound is back. Quick share of couple of reports. Okay, this is most likely an update or basically bringing up to date to the new members. In our unit, we have number of positions available. Certain positions are mandatory, like unit commander is absolutely required, safety officer is required. Some positions are optional. Deputy commanders are optional, but it's a great idea to have. If I am unable to attend the meeting, I will delegate the responsibility to hold the meeting to my deputy commander. Another example is airspace education officer is required, since one of the objectives for CEP is to promote airspace education and grow interest to aviation within our community. As we can see on this report, we have plenty of vacant positions. I will distribute this report within the unit. I'll post it in general section. If anyone is interested to take charge of a specific role, please let me or Chris know, and we will help you to get on the right path. I highlighted some of the more important positions versus others, but it doesn't mean you have to go after those highlighted positions in the openings. For example, for health services officer, it's good to have, but an important one. We have very large group of people, and having someone who can take charge of health of our members is pretty important, especially if we go to exercises or other activities in the field. We have an interesting position of emergency services training officer, search and rescue officer. This would get plenty of action within the wing, even regionally, should any activities get scheduled or set up. We have a job of operations officer, also vacant, up for grabs. Let me know if anyone is interested and what's entailed in it. I will exchange Michael Swift and Christopher in their roles. Currently Michael is primary and professional development officer role. I will make Chris being primary and Michael assistant officer, based on Michael's request, in fact. So any questions, let me know. The next level of unit functions are committees. There are several committees which are required by regulations, and we have those committees populated. It goes in not in order of importance, but rather in alphabetical order. We have awards review board of 3 members within our squadron. Finance committee. Finance committee is one of the probably busiest committees. It has to gather up every 3 months, absolutely required based on regulations, and review unit finances, make necessary adjustments, and take action if we run short in our funds and whatnot. Today, by the way, is our quarterly finance committee meeting. I will conduct with our group, and the objective is to update few items such as Form 172, review the current spendings, and so on and so forth. And Promotion Review Board is the group which is responsible for advancement of our members to the next grade or next professional level, and we will deal with required actions of that nature. From Unit Membership Board, the group has to have just 3 members to stay active. The responsibility of this board is to bring new members into the squadron. So whenever the candidate comes for several meetings, at the end of the 3rd meeting, 3 members of the board will get together with the prospect member, discuss why member is interested in participating in our activities, and get the new member through all the steps of enrollment and sending required paperwork to the national, collecting dues, etc. Any questions related to duty assignments, committees? All right, so I'll go back to my PowerPoint, and I will let Chris to talk about professional development. I don't have much of a slide. It's just the items we need to cover in brief. Basically, specialty tracks, which are available. What are the, actually before we go to specialty tracks, let's cover what are the required steps every new member has to take to remain active member.
All right. So, yeah, there's not really any slides, so this is mostly, conversational. Those of you on chat, feel free to chat as well. So, you want to start with what every member needs to stay current,
Yes.
which is
Not much, but
yeah.
still important.
Pay your dues. End of session. No. So remember, just to remind everybody, there are national dues and there are squadron dues. So the national dues, which are paid, of course, on the CAP website, and I think you can set it up to be auto paid in e-services. That's the national dues. I think they're around $80-something. They change, so make sure you check if you're not set up for auto pay. Squadron dues, $200 every year, and I think, I'm not on the finance committee, but we're still working on a way to have that not just be one check that you pay at inception of your time here at the squadron. We're working on it. We know it's kind of an issue that it has to be that way, but it is $200. It's for the year. It pays all the things like the air conditioning right now, which, trust me, we need, and the power and the internet and all these other things that we have to run the squadron. So you pay your dues, you're good to go. You see over here, well, what do you got up over there? I don't think that's related to that, right?
No, this is
Oh.
related to professional development.
Oh, okay. But yeah, as far as staying a member, pay your dues. That's the primary thing. Come to meetings. The other thing about coming to meetings is, so I've started tracking our attendance in the CAP system. So you'll see it on the far, if you look up yourself in e-services, and you'll see local activities. You'll see your meeting participation pop up on that tab. No one's using it for scoring purposes, but it's one of those things that we start looking at of like, well, we haven't heard from that person in a few months, so maybe we move them to patron status. You can come back from patron status. That's not a big deal. Just pay your dues and show up. But also, if you do kind of eventually kind of time out, move out of state, not renew, whatever it is, you have 2 years to kind of restart at your current position. At your current rank and without having to redo a bunch of stuff. If you let 2 years lapse, you're gonna have to start over again. So just be aware of that if you decide to take a little break. There is always patron status, which kind of avoids a little bit of that pain and suffering. So just take that in mind. Okay, well that's for as far as staying a member. But the other job that I have is professional development. So professional development, one of the things that we look at is the CAP is a two-way street, right? It's we are volunteering, we're giving time here, which means that the squadron needs certain functions to run. CAP as a whole needs other functions to run as well. So when you weigh those together, there's a lot of opportunities for you to contribute by picking a specialty track, by filling a duty position, by really just kind of jumping in and helping out. The way we start that process is level 1, which I think you have up there. So if you have level 1, and the other thing that we really try to push is when you're a new member, we want you to complete level 1 within 90 days. It's not hard. I mean, you can do it very quickly. You can take all 3 months, but it's the basis of how do you contribute to CAP and understand the functions of what we do, the 3 main missions, which for us is going to be aerospace education, cadet programs, or emergency services. Did I say that twice? I get lost, but there's something for everybody. And as an example, I've been in CAP. Oddly, I've only been here for 6 months, but I've been in CAP a long time ago. I was originally a cadet programs officer. It's a much different environment. Obviously, we have no cadets in this squadron. It does kind of make it tough to be a cadet programs officer in our squadron because we don't really have that duty position. That said, there are things that we do that interact with cadets. So be aware of the fact that you can do things like aerospace education, for example. You can assist other squadrons with their aerospace programs. So keep that in mind as you start thinking about what you can do, what you'd like to do to help the squadron. So level 1, and you'll see there, it covers the, like I said, the foundations of Civil Air Patrol, which is primarily that, let's see, yeah, primarily the, our uniforms, how we're related to the Air Force, things like that. And for, for some of us who've been around CAP for a while and, either we're prior Air Force or not, that's pretty basic stuff. We get it. But a lot of people come out just from the civilian world, don't know any of these things, how you wear the uniform, should you wear the blues, should you wear the white, should you wear this uniform, all of that's kind of covered in level 1. So, but, you'll see the 3 main things there, cadet protection basic, CAP takes it very seriously to protect the cadets, and it's a very, very quick little course to kind of go through interacting with our cadets. There's a pretty basic rule of thumb, which is don't be alone with cadets. That's, if I can summarize it, that's the easiest way to take it into consideration. But just be aware of the fact that if you go by the golden rule of don't allow yourself to be in a situation where their word against yours can be used, that's, stay away from those situations and you'll do fine. The other one's equal opportunity training, very quick. We're open to everybody. We don't discriminate. We don't, set boundaries for people. This includes disabilities. This includes sexual orientation and religious. So we have chaplains across all different types of religions as well. So there's really no discrimination in those areas. And finally, safety. Safety. There's a graphic as you'll go through your level 1 training that they describe all the different parts of Civil Air Patrol as a bunch of pillars upholding the CAP roof, but the base of that pillar is safety. And safety is the primary thing that we do everything here in Civil Air Patrol. You'll hear it a lot. That's why we have a dedicated week every week for safety. The important thing to remember about safety is if you're going to only make one meeting in a month, make it safety. Because you can't participate in CAP programs if you're not safety current, which means every 30 days you have to go through some sort of safety training. If you can't, for whatever reason, make the second weekend of the month or second week of the month when we do our safety training, you can go online into Access and look up the monthly safety briefing. Take that course, finish it, which is pretty much reading it and then answering a couple questions, and you'll be safety current. There are other ways to do safety, but those are the 2 most common ways to just make sure that if you're going like for instance, there's a SARX coming up. If you're not safety rated, you won't be able to participate. So that's an example of it. So once you complete those things, and like I said, all these are online in level 1. We really want everybody to complete level 1, and level 1 is just the most basic part. The last part of it is a talk with one of either Andre, myself, or Mike, and have us kind of just make sure verbally that you understand everything that was in the level 1. We sign you off, boom, level 1's complete. The misnomer is that level 1 also makes you ready for your first promotion. It does not. You still have to complete level 2, part 1, and that's what you kind of see in that second section there. So if you want to get your bars, or you care about getting your bars, you got to complete level 2, part 1. And I think we'll allude to this a little bit later. There's 2 ways to do level 2. Level 2 is designed to be in person, and it's designed to be done over at least a full day or a couple of days. But due to COVID and things like that, they made it a volunteer online, I think, what do they call it, an online cohort. I'm one of the few, well, I don't know if I'm one of the few, but I'm one of the few people in this squadron who actually did both. And so I can tell you which ones, you definitely, if they're offering it in person as a kind of, let's all get together and just knock this out, spend your day doing it. It's, the requirement being you have to have your level 1 complete, obviously. But if you just spend that day doing your level 2, it gets it out of the way and it gets it all done at once, where the online program will take a long time to complete. And it takes a long time to complete because it's an online cohort. It's 50 other people across all other CAP wings. You're being led by a couple of volunteer instructors, and there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of posting to forums and checking, and it just takes time. So if you can do it in person, get your level 1 done, do level 2, and then it's done. The only thing that you can't do in the level 2 training in person here in the group or anywhere in our wing is you have to be here long enough and have to have had a specialty track assigned to you and have a technician rating. Once you've completed that, you are done with level 2. So those are the first 2 big steps in CAP. Those will get you that plus 2 years. So we're paramilitary. There is something called time and grade. So I'll give you an example. I'll use myself as that example. So I was a second lieutenant before when I was in Civil Air Patrol as a cadet programs officer. I let more than 2 years lapse. So clock reset on me. So I rejoined in December, completed all my level 1, completed all my level 2. I just today got my technician rating, which completes my level 2. I will not be eligible to be a first lieutenant until 18 months from now. So just if that's something that you care about or you're wondering how it works, that's how it works. So you can have all the prerequisites done, but you don't get the rank until you've had the time and grade. So just keep that in mind. Don't get frustrated. Our ranks are a little more symbolic of the time you've been here and the training you've received and the qualifications that you have. Not so much that hey, I did a lot of saluting that day, and so. The military is pretty much the same way for those of you in the military. It's like, yeah, I've completed my requirements, but there are no available sergeant spots. I gotta wait my turn, and I gotta complete my time and grade, and then I'll get promoted. So, very similar structure. So that's level 1, level 2. He's showing you kind of the system that we use to track these things. It's a very convoluted system, and part of my job is to make sure that we get you through it as fast as possible. Because even if we show it to you, it'll just look like, well, it's a bunch of squares and check marks.
I can use an example. So,
Yeah. You want to pull up me, or you pull up the squadron, someone in the squadron?
Yeah, we can pull up someone. Like, we can use Lee Stevens here.
All right.
So we can see what is complete, and you have done level 1, right?
I've done 1, 2, I think I'm on 3.
So we can search by your cup ID. What is your cup ID?
177 167.
Okay, and I think we can hit the report, and it will tell us. Okay, interesting.
Well, if you want one, like, look at, yeah, see, this view, I hate the path status. What I use, if you go back one, because this one is like, I find it to be annoying. I use professional levels. And in this case, like I said, punch in whoever you're looking for.
Oh, it's punchy.
And you can select the level and go, well, it shouldn't give you something. So you probably have done 1. You're probably level 1,
I'm
part 1.
somewhere in part 1.
So yeah. So actually,
Very limited.
yeah. So and that's kind of the part of the problem is you'll look at this is more of an administrative view for us. We're just letting you know what it looks like on our side. So something that's interesting, you'll see. It looks like did you take your level 2 in a group? It looks like a group training. So when you see group equivalency crowded, that usually means that you did something, like I said, they're going to have a level 2 training in the group that you can all attend, or you sign up and attend. When you complete that program, you'll get group equivalency credit, meaning the instructor takes your CAP ID, acknowledges that you've taken the course and passed whatever test there is, and they sign you off saying, boom, you're done.
Here, path to progression.
Yeah, your path is broke. I'm looking at it right now, yeah. Yeah, you should have it looks like you finally did get approved, but so normally, and the path is important. I don't think I brought it up, and it's kind of another convoluted subject in CAP. Whether you're a new member, well, if you're a new member coming into CAP and you're just a civilian and I just want to help, that's great. Your path is always going to be new, right? If you were a cadet, your path will be cadet because it changes some of the training that you have in both level 1 and level 2. Because some things you've already gone through the training as a cadet. And that's one way they're kind of showing that. Military, generally the rule of, what I've just kind of parsed through reading through all of this information, Military, it has really no effect unless you were an officer or if you were E4 and above. For instance, I was an E2, which doesn't mean anything. So that's why the military path's not available for me. But if you're an E4 above, it means that you've taken certain training as a military, either enlisted or an officer or a non-commissioned officer, that may be relevant to CAP. So your path will change to military. Then there's new, and then there's professional. Professional is very specific. It's for chaplains, for doctors, lawyers. I think that's the only ones. Yeah, because I don't even think they include emergency services professionals. So yeah. Anyway, so doctors, lawyers, CPAs. Yeah, there's a list of professions that CAP kind of shows as a profession, and it changes your track. It's a little bit of accelerated, like I think if you come in as a CPA, I think you're automatically a first lieutenant. There's a whole bunch of things. One thing I've been mistaken about, because I did a lot of reading about this, is being a CFI is not considered a professional track. So sorry to dash somebody's hopes out there, I'm sure. But there is some provisions about accelerated advancement for CFIs or for FAA training in general. But as I found out, those are not guaranteed. So if you're an instrument rated pilot, or if you are a CFI or a CFII, Andre can submit to national saying, I think this person deserves to be a captain, or this person deserves to be a lieutenant because they're instrument rated, and they'll pretty much have to view that as a request. They may or may not grant it. And I looked at the wording, and it even says, unless there's specific need or something like that. So now, combine that with, we're low on instructors. So I would say if we have CFIs and CFIIs that want to be get cap check pilot rated, I think that would be a good
It can be
written.
justified.
I think that's a written submittal for a CFI would be a first lieutenant, and a CFII I think would be a captain. So I think that would be a good kind of, hey, let's try to get more CFIs on board by, accelerating through the program. So anyways, so the personal development program. So, and I'll conclude with because this is all kind of background stuff that we look at. The specialty tracks. Most specialty tracks will have training that's either online in Access or some sort of task guide. If you remember task guides from the Mission Scanner and Observer programs and other OPSQuals things, there's a task guide for how do we be an IT officer, how do we be a professional development officer, or personnel, or administrative. All these have task guides. A lot of those task guides are do these things in your squadron, have the commanders, sign off on the fact that you've done it, and there are rankings inside of the specialty tracks. So when we first assign you to a new specialty, you will be none. It's usually, we usually call that an assistant. So you'll be like, for me, I was an assistant professional development officer. Again, don't get too hung up on the titles or names. I function as a professional development officer. I read all the required stuff, and I do what's necessary to make it happen. But there are technicians, so there's none. There's technician, there's senior, and then there's master rankings, right? And they all have requirements, just like our ranks do. So it's very possible, like a lot of us, you'll have, your rank is probably kind of irrelevant, but your specialty track and what you're approved to do through the specialty track and through OPSQuals are actually more important to what CAPs do, or at least how you relate to CAP. So even things like mission pilot, if you're going to be mission pilot, that has a separate set of, whether you are, a senior or a master, that has to do with how long you've had that rating and whatnot. But as far as the specialty tracks, when you look at all these things, so yeah, who are we looking at? Mike?
Yeah,
Of course.
Has master in
Mike has everything. Yeah, Mike.
At least in the basic non-rating, he has pretty much everything.
Right. And an interesting thing to note, if you're interested in knowing about something, you can always find almost all this material in CAP. But when it comes time to, I really want to get that rating, so we always start with a talk with, Andre, and says, I want to do this. Can that be done here in the squadron? And says yes. When we add that to you, you will get, if there's training available and a test available, it will show up in Access as soon as we assign you that role. So for me, like I think they assigned me to group personnel. I wasn't a personnel officer before. Boom, immediately in Access, I get the personnel track, specialty track, but I got to take that test, and then once that test is passed and I become a technician, it'll change to the next test, on and so on. The specialty tracks is really how you help the squadron, the group, and the wing. And before we get, everybody in this room already knows this, but anybody who doesn't know about our the way we're organized, the basic unit here is a squadron. That's what we all do. You can be selected for a specialty track and a position here in the squadron. Some people will then move on to group level positions, and group level positions, Andre and I both hold group positions. I think Juan, you're not aircraft for group, or is that just Mike? Just Mike.
Mike is the assistant.
Yeah. So you'll start to see people pick up different assignments across the group, and even the wing, and even the region, right? So just keep that in mind, that if you really end up enjoy doing something, there's kind of a lot of room to eventually get into a position that you have more effect.
It's also an opportunity to learn something new. If you are involved in IT, but you are curious about telecommunications, go and enroll yourself in a specialty track for communications. You get to know how our communications work, ground, air, air-to-air, etc. And you'll be able to get involved a lot. There is always demand for communication specialty in all kinds of operations.
Yeah, I think communications is probably the next biggest one that gets missed, because normally they relegate it to, so at the SARX, speaking from experience, at the SARXs, you'll usually have one communication unit leader who really knows our system, because you have to get that role. But then they'll have usually a bunch of cadets running the radios, and it's a nightmare. So if you don't have adults running the radios, or at least an adult who can kind of run the radio, it turns into this really weird thing when we're airborne and we're trying to get information and no one knows what's going on, and the communication unit leader's having lunch. So communications is always a good one. If you don't know how our system works, like I would say I know the basics. I'm definitely not an advanced person on the communication system. I think either comms or ops will probably be my next one, because comms is very, very important, and I witnessed it being up in the air. So anyway, so if you're curious about these specialties, obviously you can read about them, but otherwise, ask somebody who already does it, ask one of us. I'm always ready to kind of, I can kind of breeze through a document and tell you what the requirements are, and good times. Is that it?
That's it.
Like I said,
did
I
a
can talk
good
all
job.
day about that stuff. Anyways, there
Well,
you go.
that's your job. For the last few minutes we have left, I'd like to bring attention to our members to several opportunities to get some training. One is related to emergency services, which is first aid and CPR. If you click on the link on this page, you will get to learning management system for the California wing. Actually, you can take about an hour lesson there with some tests at the end of each block. Once you complete those lessons and you have a passing grade, you basically contact First Lieutenant Deborah Alt, and she will set up a skill review and check-off session. That will give you SQTR entry for emergency services related to first aid and CPR, but you will not be qualified as American Heart Association or American Red Cross certified specialist in this area. You will have to attend in-person training and actually get certified by the instructors from American Red Cross and pay some fees to get your certificate. Yes, Lon?
So legally, what is it good for?
It's good to have some skill rather than not to have any.
If you want to do ground team at any time, this is a good time to do that.
You will need first aid for ground team. So, like for me, I'll probably end up doing ground team 3, the basic one. it's a requirement, you know, and if you're just looking for the requirement for splitters, it's an hour, get it done. But if you actually wanna save somebody's life, go take the American Red Cross, personally.
And there will be official training scheduled at some point once Deborah collects enough members interested in this. She will set up a session somewhere regionally and invite those members who will be in contact with her. That's my understanding.
To get the
To get the official Red Cross certificate.
And to, so, this has probably changed over the 20 years that I haven't done this, but when I was on ground team initially, they wanted us to go beyond first responder to first aid to first responder. First responder is a little bit takes first aid and it adds on administration of oxygen and medications and things like that. Not every medication, but so that's if ground team is something you may be interested in, start here, and then you'll find out maybe you don't want to deal with it.
All right. Another opportunity related to emergency services is upcoming SAREX. This will be Group 3 and Group 7 SAREX, which will be held on July 16th and 17th, the weekend after next. It's perfect time to sign up. If you are missing hands-on training and sign-off from our instructors, go for it. The sign-up link was published in the email which was sent to our group, but there is also a link here. I also posted this exact information on our Teams. Please start using Teams. All the information coming in via email, I will do my best, and I encourage Chris also to help me with that. We will be posting it in Teams under targeted channels, and I'll say a few words at the end about the structure of our channels within the Squadron Teams area. Again, any questions related to SAREX, please reach out to myself, Chris, Terry, Mike. We'll be more than happy to guide you and put you in the right direction.
Special emphasis on people that need scanner, observer, or MSA. Like, if you're lacking those, please go to the SAREX.
Yes.
Where's the SAREX at?
At Cable Airport.
Cable Airport? Okay.
Some other opportunities, you may have seen this email. If you are interested in interacting with cadets, go sign up for encampment. Encampment will take place in August. The organizers are looking for 9 more senior cadet training officers. There are some prerequisites related to this activity. Of course, level 1 and cadet safety course, and some other may be required, but please reach out to Major Wiggins. She will tell you what you are missing, if anything, and you still have time to close those gaps and get to this event. Any questions? Okay. Before I go to the last page, I'd like to show the way Teams is structured. It's pretty straightforward. There is a general area. Any member can post in this channel any question, and you can actually start a new conversation on a subject you have interest in. And if you start typing @ symbol, you will see the names of our squadron. If you select a particular member, that member will get actual notification indicating that there is a pending question. There is only one closed channel which is related to finance. Only finance committee members have access to it. There is a channel related to Form 5, and we will be posting information, nothing there, but I will ask Terry to maybe fill in some blanks and give an opportunity to our members to actually take steps towards completing Form 5 check right. In IT resources, we will be posting information for any changes related to our IT environment. SARAX training events, the information I just shared in a presentation related to Group 3 and 7 SARAX is already there. I will also post CPR related information in the same location. In the area for specialty tracks, whenever the new member selects a particular track, we will do our best to actually guide our members how to complete all the required steps, what are the prerequisites, and so on and so forth. And should we have another channel required, we will set it up, super easy to do. We can actually group our members into focus categories and create conversations related to subject matters of interest to those specific groups. Any questions, comments?
How do you get added to the channels?
All the channels should be visible to our members. If you don't see it, I'll take a look into it, but when I created, I checked off the box that it's open channel and should be available to every member. Let's quickly take a look. If
His transfer is complete, his data is correct, so you should have access to it.
I don't think we are here. So
It may take, depending, it usually takes like 24 hours for it to update the system, but I think his transfer is complete.
Yeah, that's done a couple weeks ago.
And as soon as everything's correct,
okay, we will force it. And now you should,
There it is.
it should come up. For those members who couldn't get to Teams, please reach out to David, myself, or Chris. We will help you installing the right software and get you online. One last closing item. Next week will be safety meeting. This is one of the mandatory meetings. Please at least attend it online. In person is preferred. And the proposed topic for the next meeting would be non-towered airport operations. We can review in a discussion what could be typical hazards of flying into non-towered airport, what would be the best practices, most of which would be covered in FAA AC 90-66B. And our instructors who are new members can share their hands-on experience, and pilots can share their good and bad and ugly situations. And if any suggestions available for safety meetings, please post your suggestions in Teams, send me or our safety officer an email, and we will take care of it. All right?
new people?
Questions, comments?
New people? No?
Many questions.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'm a CFI, CFII. I would like to get involved. It's my second time here. We can talk about my path to getting that involvement after my third time.
Absolutely. So next time you're here, we will complete your interview with our new membership committee, member board, and we will give you all the forms involved. Once you have formal enrollment done, we will have a more focused discussion what would be your path on becoming check pilot at CAP.
That's enough for now. I'll get your contact information before I leave, and if anything comes up, I'll ask.
Sounds good. Any questions online? Let's see.
Where you live?
Orange County,
No, it's not too bad.
quite a drive.
Oh,
Yeah. That is this time of night too.
But I'm at this airport 6-7 days a week anyway.
Oh,
So.
That's how I ended up here. It's a trap.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, I teach over at ATV.
Okay. Online members, thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you next week in person.
I'm gonna take my,
That's official.
Okay, I ended the
So-
stream.
email from them